Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm that Jag girl, and you're over $50,000 in debt. Let's talk about it.
I fear as though I might have startled y'all by saying that I am 28 years old and $67,000 in credit card debt. Let me address some of y'all's concerns. Number one, the IRS not being included in this number. I owe the IRS $7,000, and the reason I'm not stressed about that is, first, I think that they're wrong. I used to do zero, letter after E, and I did it during COVID. I only did it for 1 year, and I put it on my taxes for that year. So in 2021, I paid for 2020. 2022, I did my 2021 taxes, as one does. Never heard anything about it. Come last year, 2024, around August, they say, you owe us $7,000 from 2021. But it was already money that I had tracked in 2020. And I tried to fight it. And I was like, no, you guys are wrong. This is money that I got in these months in 2020. And they basically said, nope, you got to pay this. Even though I tried to fight it. I called, I emailed, I literally hand wrote a letter, and they said, nope, you're wrong. So me and the IRS have beef, which is why I'm not stressed about paying their silly little $7,000. A lot of people were like, oh, Seraphine, you have to pay that or else they're garnish your wages. Yes, I know that. That is why I pay a measly $100 a month towards them. Because as long as you are making a payment, they won't garnish your wages. So I have personally accepted that every month I will be $100 poorer because the IRS wants to screw me over. So that is why I don't even include them in my $67,000.
So IRS debt, we could talk about that forever. As long as you are working here in the US, you have to pay taxes. And she's absolutely correct. You don't pay the tax bill that you owe, they can absolutely garnish your wages. She's saying that she's not worried about it. She should be. She should be very worried because whatever she did in the year in which the IRS is saying that she owes this money, let's just say that she does that again the next year. Or maybe she skips a year and then she does it the third year or the fourth year. And then that amount that she owes can be compounded with interest and additional fees that next year return and the year after that. So I would not suggest at all about having the mindset that, it's not that big a deal, that you're not worried about it. If the IRS garnishes your wages, they can garnish your bank accounts. They can put liens on any property that you have. They can do all sorts of things in order to make sure that they're paid. So the one thing that I do agree with that she's doing, she's being proactive, right? So she's trying to state her case, even though they're not listening to her. She's trying to state her case. She's trying to tell them what happened. She's trying to tell them that, she put the additional money aside, that she paid extra. It sounds like she had a little bit of savings as well, or she tried to save a little bit of money in order to, pay towards this debt. But that's her being proactive. So I think that that's probably helping, the fact that she's not that worried about it because she is communicating with them. The worst thing that you can do with the IRS is completely ignore them, right? They send you letter after letter after letter, and if you continue to ignore them, yes, they will move forward with collection items. So she's making a monthly payment now, which is good. It doesn't sound like she's happy about it. None of us would be, right? No matter how much it is. In her case, it's $100 per month. But she's at least, addressing the issue and they're working with her, So she just has to make sure that she doesn't skip any of those payments so that they take her off of that payment plan. Because if they do, then absolutely they'll go after, the collection phase again.
I make about $150,000 a year roughly, and I have $104,822 left to pay off. And this person is asking me, at what point does your situation change where you can stop working so much? And for context, I've worked basically 7 days a week since March of 2024, 12 to 16-hour days with very few days off to avoid bankruptcy. Several things have changed. One, I have about $750 in payments going away. My affirming Klarna, and will finally be done by mid-February. And altogether, that will free up about $1,000 a month. And then I get an annual bonus on February 14th. I never know what it is until a couple days before. But if it's comparable to last year, I will be able to purchase myself a car, which means I won't have to pay for rental cars anymore. I won't have to work as much. I'm still going to work my butt off because I want to pay the debt off. But there's going to be a delicate balance because my daughter goes off to college. 8 months, only 8 months. And I'm just not willing to squander any of that time. I'm going to have to budget some cheap travel and days with her and see where it goes. End of discussion. I can't believe that I have a kid that is going off to be a biomedical engineer. I'm so proud, but I'm also very sad at the same time because the seasons of our life are changing. You're proud, but you're sad at the same time.
So now with this young lady, we've seen her before. We've seen her when she talks about her Klarna and Affirm debt. So she has a plan. She's one of the lucky ones that, I guess maybe at least once a year she gets a bonus from her job. She's very lucky. Not a lot of people get that or have that opportunity or that benefit to earn extra money from the job that they're currently working at with those annual, quarterly bonuses and things of that nature. But she has a plan. She makes $150,000 per year. She's over $100,000 in debt. She didn't go into any specifics as to what that debt entails. So we don't know if that debt is, real estate or if she did mention that she's currently renting a car, and with the bonus that she intends to receive at a later time, she can, maybe either purchase a car outright or she can use some of that money as a down payment for a new car. But either way, she has a plan for this chunk of money that she's going to get. And she's very lucky. So let's just hope that, she sticks to her plan. And again, we've seen her before. We've seen some of her videos before. So it kind of sounds like she realizes that she wants to get out of the situation that she's currently in. She gave a great example, by paying off some of her Klarna and her Affirm loans, she's going to save about $1,000 a month, so we don't necessarily know what she used those loans for, those buy now, pay later loans, but she has a great plan to, make sure that she's putting some extra money back in her pocket after she pays those items off.
I'm 22 years old and I have about $100,000 worth of debt to my name. About $52,000 is towards my car loan, while $24,000 is towards my credit cards, and about $8,000 is towards my student loan. Regarding my credit card debt, I chose debt settlement, so my balance used to be like $40,000 and they took away all interest charges, and now it's only like $24,000. So I am actively trying to avoid bankruptcy right now. I don't want to file for bankruptcy at 22 years old. I know a lot of people are advising me to do this, but I just don't think that's smart if I can actually pay it off. Debt settlement was the best option for me for several reasons. One being it's more private. It isn't on your record the way bankruptcy is. Debt settlement does negatively affect your credit score, but it is usually less severe, and the time span of it affecting your score is much shorter than bankruptcy. Debt settlement can also reduce the amount you owe, while with bankruptcy you might have to give up some of your assets like your car and like your jewelry. I think that if you have a larger debt balance than I do, then yeah, bankruptcy might be the right route for you, but in my case, I am able to afford my debt settlement payments. I also feel like with the debt settlement route, you are open to future business loans or future car loans, while with a bankruptcy on your report, you're very unlikely to be open to those things.
Now, guys, in her situation, I mean, she's 22 years old, and she did mention that she has a car with a loan of about $50,000. That's really expensive for a young 20 something, if I could honestly say. But I'm just thinking that when she purchased that car, she had to have had sufficient income to support, a payment for a $50,000 vehicle, probably fresh out of college. She did say that a portion of her, the amount of money that she owes is to student loans. But let's start with the $50,000 car. You know, also too, I would have to caution against, well, let me put it this way: filing bankruptcy as a young 20 something year old, um, that should not be the last resort. Filing bankruptcy at 20 something years old, your life is just starting, you're just starting possibly a career, you're just getting out of school, and to feel like you have so much debt that you need to file for bankruptcy, I don't know if that's a wise decision. I don't know even if, the people that are giving her that advice at that young age, um, that she should listen to. Filing bankruptcy, it can prevent you from future loans. It can prevent you from home purchases, real estate purchases. And in some cases, it can probably even prevent you, not even probably, it will prevent you from even renting an apartment in your name or a home in your name and things of that nature. It does stay on your credit for quite some time. But we have to also caution, no matter what age you are, we have to caution these debt settlement companies. There's a lot of scammers out here, and you just have to make sure that if you are taking that route, that you are legitimately researching the company, you are looking online for reviews, you're paying attention to if they're asking for money up front. You have to pay attention to, if there's like like a web presence. Um, Maybe do a internet search for reviews to see what other people are saying. You just have to really caution yourself with that, but again, at her age, I don't know that if either of those are a great example to kind of start your financial life with, um, I wonder what financially has changed so that now she feels like she can't afford that $50,000 vehicle that she purchased, so again, just a word of caution. We just have to make sure that we're doing the right thing when it comes to choosing those options. Like she said, most debt settlement companies do not appear on your credit. However, the negotiation of lowering or changing your monthly payment, the creditor does have a right to update your credit report to say that you're paying less than originally agreed, which could ding your credit score. Bankruptcies, they will absolutely ding your credit score. So it all depends on, and bankruptcies can stay on your credit report for up to 10 years, depending on the type of bankruptcy that you file and the status of it, if you pay it off or if you dismiss it, if it's just charged, So there's a lot of variables there, but absolutely, just be cautious. Maybe go to your local bank, maybe speak with a banker, someone that you trust, and maybe ask them, what their thoughts are. Tell them what your credit situation is like, and let them help you. Let someone that's in finance, definitely help you make that decision onto what needs to be done next for your particular situation.
I was hiding over $55,000 worth of credit card debt from my husband over about a year span. And it wasn't until February of this year that I could no longer take it, and I wanted to sit him down and fully confess to him, because I knew that it was so unfair that he was helping me pay for this debt that he didn't even know about it. So in February, I sat him down, I confessed, and I told him everything. Now, I know you probably have 1,000,001 questions. Please feel free to drop them in the comments, any questions that you have, and I will answer every one of them with 100% honesty and full transparency. I decided to share our journey because not only did I know that it would help me stay accountable, but that I could also hopefully help people that are possibly in the same situation or similar situation that I was in. If you haven't already, please smash that follow button. We are hoping and praying that sharing our journey and sharing our story will help us pay off this debt sooner than we expected.
Now, her story, unfortunately, is a little scary. A lot of marriages end in divorce due to financial problems, financial issues. Depending on how long she's been married, how she delivered this news to him, that she was over $50,000 in debt. Did he have any idea that this was going on, or was it a complete surprise to him? You know, um, I don't know. This type of situation is very scary. It can be dangerous, for your household, for the future of your marriage, or You don't even have to be married. It could just be a relationship. There's lots of stories out there and statistics that state, what the average um, number of divorces or marriages in divorce. I would definitely, absolutely suggest that you share this information as best you can, and together, you create a plan for paying these items off. Working together is definitely the best option. But she sounds like she has a plan. She's going to share it with us. So maybe we'll check back in with her, later in a few months just to see how they're doing.
I started off this year with over $53,000 worth of debt, and I just took out another credit card. Let's talk about it. So before you get scared, it is a balance transfer credit card, which means I am taking one of my balances on a very high interest credit card and transferring it to this credit card through Bank of America that doesn't have any interest for the first 12 months. So what that means is every single penny that I put onto that card is going towards the money that I owe instead of just paying interest, which is huge because one of my previous videos, I did the math and I paid over $6,000 worth of interest last year. So yes, while it is scary to have another credit card in my name, I truly believe that I will be diligent enough to not put any money on it. And in the long run, it'll help me pay off the card faster. And as long as I don't spend more, my interest on my card that I'm transferring it from, again, is going down. And so it is saving me money and helping me pay it off faster. But my page is all about transparency. So I just wanted to be honest. That'll probably be the next card that I'm working to pay off, depending on what you guys vote for tomorrow. I'll explain all that later. But let's try and get it paid down as quickly as possible so that way I don't even have to worry about it.
Now, this situation can be scary as well. So, when you think about those cards that are being offered for the balance transfers and for X number of months, after you've transferred a balance from a previous card, you have 0% interest, again, for X number of months. Of course, the idea is during that time that you make these large payments so that, let's just say, it's within 12 months. So within 12 months, the balance that you transferred over at 0% interest, that you're paying that item off, that you've paid that card off. That's the idea. But oftentimes where we get in trouble is we transfer the balance, we make the absolute minimum payment. That minimum payment that you're making isn't enough to pay that item or the balance that you transferred. It's not enough to pay that balance off. So at the end of that period, again, with this example, the example that I'm giving of 12 months, you still have a balance that you haven't paid for. Not only that, if you're not disciplined and if you haven't, thought about the process of, getting yourself out of this debt properly, then it's possible that that other credit card, you've now charged it up again, and now you have a balance running on that old card. So, these offers can be extremely attractive. The idea is to like get your business, win your business, so that you can, leave the other card, close it, do whatever it is that you'd like. But you have to be extremely diligent in making sure that you're paying off that new balance.
Let's talk credit card debt. I want to vomit. I hate that I'm doing this. This is so uncomfortable for me, but I started TikTok because I wanted to contribute financially. I'm a temporary stay-at-home mom. I took the year off from teaching to work on my mental health and to raise my two boys. And that obviously has been a financial setback. So me doing TikTok was supposed to help with that, but not including my credit card debt. I feel like I'm not being truthful. Right? So I want to be truthful to you guys. I've been following along other content creators that have been sharing their credit card debt journeys and have found success in sharing that. I want to shout out Lauren Doesn't Spend 2025 because she literally looked me in the eyes last night and said, if you're looking for creative ways to pay off your credit card, post about it on TikTok. So here I am. I have two credit cards and I hate that. I hate that we have two credit cards, but it is what it is. The other one was supposed to pay off the other one, and in a perfect world, I wouldn't have spent on the other one. But now We have two. So I'm going to own up to that. I'm not perfect. But here we go. The two. One is sitting at $12,115, give or take. Obviously, with interest and cents, I don't have the exact amount, and I can post that for you guys because I do want to be transparent and I do want to share my journey of paying it off, right? So we're going to include that in my content now. So 12,000, that's been sitting like that for a while. I wish I could say that I am paying that off quicker, but I'm not. But unfortunately, the one has built up more than I would have liked. I wouldn't like any of it. I would love to not have any of it, but here we are. So the second one is sitting at $6,965, give or take. Again, I can share the exact amount with you guys. But wow, that's a grand total of $19,078, give or take. Yeah, as I'm approaching almost 20 grand in credit card debt, I am desperate and I am willing to try anything. So here we go. Follow along if you want to see how I do paying my credit card off, right? Like I want to share that. I want to share the tips. I want to share the progress. I want to be held accountable. And I really hope 2025 is the year that I say we paid off $20,000 of credit card debt.
Now, I wanted to include her video because it's an example. It's less than 50,000, right? So the title of this particular video is, you're greater than $50,000 in debt. But I thought that, she brought up a great point that, she wanted to post to TikTok so that she could create extra income, right? So she's a school teacher and she took off for a year so that she could pay attention to her mental health. Mental health is extremely important. Mental health can be, quite debilitating on many different levels, right? So in her case, I don't know if maybe she took off for the year. She's, her family is struggling through the $20,000 worth of debt that they have or to pay it. But it's like she's understanding that she needs to contribute something so that she can assist with paying off this $20,000 in debt. And posting on TikTok, she's earning money so that she can help, pay some of that debt off. So I wanted to add her video simply because, it's important for us to understand when we are in, high dollar amounts of debt, and everyone's definition of, oh my God, I'm in so much debt is different, right? Some people look at $10,000 worth of debt, you get that, oh my God, reaction. But then you have other people that are in 75, 100, $150,000 in debt or even greater. And then those people are just now getting to, that reaction period of the, oh my God, I'm in this much amount of debt. It's important that once you realize that you need to pay off this debt, having multiple streams of income is key. That will definitely help you. As long as those multiple streams of income, it works with your family size, your lifestyle. If you have kids at home, to make sure that you have the proper, childcare, having a spouse at home. But having those multiple streams of income is definitely, a plus. And it sounds like that's what, she's doing here. So thank you so much for staying until the end. I really appreciate the time that you spend to kind of listen to the examples and the videos that we're sharing here on this channel. We had some great conversations in reference to, some people that are $50,000 in debt and over. The one example, she was under $50,000 in debt, but she brought up some great points, with her mental health, being in debt and being in debt so that you're not sleeping, you're not eating, you can't figure out how to, pay those bills and, keep your lifestyle going. Being in a lot of debt could be very detrimental for your family. It could be, lifestyle changing, once you have that, eye-opening moment of like, oh my gosh, I'm in X number of dollars worth of debt. But today was a lot of great examples of, people that shared their stories, with us. They were very vulnerable in order to share their information and their stories with social media. So I absolutely applaud them. I really do. That's the first step of realizing that you're in that much debt, what people are doing in order to get out of that debt, and then also, too, what they did in order to get in that debt. So if you have some suggestions or if you have some advice, share with the community, share with us, comment down below so that we know what you did in order to get rid of, your large amount of debt. But again, like, comment, don't forget to comment and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. Thank you.